Dear organizers and participants, I want to discuss the licensing of ellipses today. This topic is hotly debated in linguistic studies, and up to now, many interesting hypotheses have been proposed. Even though they uncovered a great number of new facts and deepened our understanding of UG, I, I think some facts are still left unexplained. See, for example, the following contrast. The first sentence means Johnson likes your school and he likes theirs too. Sentence 2 is almost the same as sentence 1 except one point. That is, there is a possessive marker de here, and in this sentence there's no possessive marker de. In other words, the possessive marker de is overt in sentence 1, covered in sentence 2. In the literature, de is often analyzed as a head. So we can say if the head is overt, its complement can be elided. But if the head is covered or null, its complement cannot be elided. I think this kind of phenomenon cannot be explained by the existing proposal. Owing to time limitation, I will not have a review here. So my question is, how should ellipses be licensed? I think Chomsky's labeling theory can shed light on this question. According to him, a structure must be labeled in order to be properly interpreted at the interface. And generally speaking, there are two ways for a structure to be labeled. One is that if there is a head and a phrase, the head will provide a label. And if two phrases are merged, their structure can be labeled by having feature matching or by moving one phrase away with the remaining one providing the label. Chomsky 2015 further proposed that it's not the case that all heads can provide labels, and some heads, including T in English and lexical heads, are too weak to label. With these assumptions, some facts can be explained. See, for example, 3A and 3B. In 3A, who can be moved from subject position to the initial position. In 3A, such kind of movement is not allowed. And in 3B, who can move from this position to this position. Why is there such a contrast? According to Chomsky, the reason lies in labeling. Now let's see. Since CP is a face, of this face is derived who will move from this position to this position. And when this face is ready to be spelled out, the labeling algorithm will start to work. Since the lower copy of who is in the discontinuous chain is not visible to the labeling algorithm, and then who cannot have feature matching with the head T, so their mother node cannot be labeled. Different from this one, in this sentence, like will move from this position to the position of V, and after that, let V is not visible, and its facehood status will be inherited by the lower copy of like, and then it will be a face, and who will move from this position to this position, which is the edge position of a face. When this face is ready to spell out, the labeling algorithm will start to work. In such a case, who and like are still in the same local domain, so they can have feature matching, and their mother node can be labeled. Okay, that is Chomsky's story. I think this kind of story is very interesting, even though there are still some problems with this kind of theory. And I also think that the assumptions about weak heads is also very inspiring. And I wonder whether there is other kind of heads which are also weak. I think the study of Richards can shed light on this question. That is the traditional model of UG. That is, after a structure is formed, is derived in the narrow syntax, it will be transferred to the phonetic system and the semantic system. Richards 26 made a change of this model. He proposed that there should be a prosodic structure in the narrow syntax. In other words, some phonological structures are constructed in the narrow syntax, and there are also some operations in this kind of domain. And if the phonological features of a phrase is affected, its syntactic properties will also be changed. One typical example is pro. According to Richards, pro should have phonologic features at the very beginning. It is a normal nominal. Because of a conversion operation, this nominal lost its phonologic features and changed to a pro. Okay, that is Richard's assumption. If we have a thought of the theory of governing binding, and we can see that there's something interesting here. That is, according to the governing binding theory, pro has a special property. That is, in this governing domain, it should be both bound and unbound. Okay, so this suggests that the operation in the prosodic structure in the narrow syntax can exert a strong impact on syntax. Based on this, we can say that if the operation in the narrow syntax erases the phonological feature of a head or mark it as null, then its syntactic properties will be affected. So based on that, we can propose that phonological features should play an important role in our labeling algorithm, because labeling algorithm is carried out when a phrase is ready to transfer or spell out. So I made this proposal. The head that has no phonological features in the labeling algorithm is also weak for labeling. And one may wonder, how can we know whether a head has a phonological feature or not in the labeling algorithm? Because labeling algorithm is carried out when the phrase is ready to spell out. But what can we see or what can we observe is only the surface structure. For example, pro has no phonological features at the surface structure, but it has phonological features in the narrow syntax. So just based on the overt syntax structure, how can we know whether a head has phonological features or not? I think this measure can be used. That is, if a head can have phonetic form, but it turned out to be null, then it has no phonological features in the labeling algorithm. It cannot have if it can have phonetic form, but it turned out to be null because its phonological features is elided or is erased in the narrow syntax, and then it may have no phonological features in the labeling algorithm. Okay, now let's see Chomsky's assumption again. Chomsky proposed that a weak head can have its mother node labeled by have feature matching with the phrase in the spell position. Can now weak head do it in the same way? Now let's have a look at this sentence. I insist that he should stay. This sentence indicates that the auxiliary is also optional. That to say, the phonological features of T can also be null. Okay, just now I proposed that phonological features plays an important role in the labeling algorithm. And if the phonological features of a head is erased in the narrow syntax, its syntactic property should be changed. So based on it, we can say over T and now T should be different in their labeling performance. Over T can have feature matching with the phrase in the spell position, but now T cannot do it in the same way because they are different in their phonological features, and phonological features play an important role in the labeling. Then, if the phrase in its spell position is not available, then how can the null head have its mother node labeled? I think if we look at this picture, we can get the answer because there is also a phrase in this complement position, and between the null head and its complement, there is a relationship. The relationship is category feature matching. Okay. We know that almost all heads can be null. And what is interesting that almost all heads must have category feature matching between the heads and their complement. So we can say that category feature matching may be the right choice for the null head to have its mother node labeled. Okay, based on this reasoning, I propose that if the head is null, then it's a null weak head, and it cannot have its mother node labeled on its own, and it must have feature checking or matching with the phrase in its complement position to have its mother node labeled. I think my assumption can be supported by different kind of phenomena. Now let's have a look at this one. In this sentence, the complement of T is elided, and T is overt, so this sentence is grammatical, and this sentence is grammatical too. But in this sentence, the head T is null. So when the head T is covered, its complement cannot be elided. The same is true of this sentence. Now let's see another sentence. In this sentence, there is no auxiliary. But if we want to elide the complement of T, we must add did here. And this is more interesting. As I said just now, in such a context, T is optional. The phonological feature of the phonetic form of T is optional. But if we want to elide the complement of T here, the phonetic form is obligatory. If it is null, its complement cannot be elided. The same is true of Chinese. This can be explained by our assumption very easily. If the head is null, then it must have category selection feature matching with its complement. According to Bolton 2012, the phrase is elided in the narrow syntax. So after it is elided in a narrow syntax, it cannot have feature matching with the head when the labeling algorithm starts to work, and then their mother node cannot be labeled. Okay, now let's see another phenomenon. This sentence means you have 3 apples and he has 4 bananas. This kind of sentence can be used in the context, for example, I'm distributing fruits to my students. I can say, okay, you have 3 apples and she has 4 bananas. And in such a context, the verb is optional. What is interesting is that if the verb is null, its complement cannot be elided. But if the verb is overt, then its complement can be elided. Okay, this also falls right into ground and our assumption. If the verb is null, is a null weak head which must have feature matching with its complement. If this complement is elided, is empty in a narrow syntax, then they cannot have feature matching with each other in the labeling algorithm. Then their mother node cannot be labeled. Now let's see another phenomenon. This sentence means there is a desk here, and in this sentence, the classifier is optional. This kind of sentence can be is frequently used in Beijing dialect in China. And what is interesting is that if the classifier is now, its complement cannot be elided. If the classifier is overt, its complement can be elided. This is also expected under our assumption. That is, our labeling theory can explain it very easily. Now let's see the last group of phenomena. And as I said just now, the possession marker is optional. And if the is covered, its complement cannot be elided. If the is overt, its complement can be elided. Okay, it is the same. And it can be explained by our labeling theory. If the complement is now, and if the head is now too, they cannot have feature matching in the labeling algorithm. So their mother node cannot be labeled, which is not allowed according to the labeling theory. Some scholar may say, okay, there are many challenges to your assumptions. Okay, I agree. But I think that these challenges are not our example, not counterexamples. And in a sense, they are also expected and our assumptions. Okay, now let's see the first challenge. He's writing something, but you can't imagine what. That is a typical sleuthing construction. And in such a construction, T is covered and TP is elided, but this sentence turned out to be grammatical. Why? I think if Abi's assumption is right, and this sentence should be derived in this way. That is, what stays in situ because it does not undergo movement. C, the head C, has no phonetic form. In other words, even if C has phonologic features, its phonologic features have no phonetic form. That to say, the phonological features of C is not erased, so it is still a strong head. A lot of facts can support this assumption. Now let's have a look at this. Max has invited someone. Really? Who has? This sentence is grammatical. The reason is that the head C has no phonetic form, and we can say the phonological features of C has no phonetic form, but it has phonetic features in the labeling algorithm. Okay. And Merchant also studied a lot of phenomena and came to a generalization like this. In sleuthing, no non-operator material may appear in complementizer position. Okay, that is to say, there's no phonetic form in the complementizer position. So we can say because it has no phonetic form, its phonetic features is not deleted. This meets our test measure. If it has phonetic form, but it turns out to be null, then we can say its phonetic features is deleted in the Nelson test and it must be weak. If it never has phonetic form, we cannot say that its phonetic feature is deleted. Okay. That's our testing measure. That's our criterion. We can say that, yes, it has phonetic features in the Nelson test, but its phonetic features never has phonetic realization. The same is true of Chinese. In Chinese, C has no phonetic form, but we cannot say that C has no phonetic features. This kind of assumption can be supported by the study of Miyagawa, and his paper he published in Glossa perhaps in this year, which also relate to labeling. Okay, now let's see the last challenge. Jan loves to study Jacques and John too. In this sentence, T has no phonetic features and its complement is also elided, but it is grammatical. I think it's not a challenge. Following Heckman and her colleague, we can assume that Join and two in the second conjunct has an go movement to the close internal left periphery consists of topic and focus, which we read about VP. And because topic or focus has never has phonetic realization, we can say it has phonetic features, but it just doesn't has phonetic realization. Okay, we can also follow Kim and by saying that after the remaining phrase move to spec focus P, TP is elided, and the phonological feature of focus never have phonetical it's never phonetically realized. Okay, if my assumption is on the right track, I think it may shed new light on the understanding of weak heads and labeling, and may help to come to a new generalization regarding the licensing of ellipses. That is, after the structure is elided, the ellipse site must be located in the labeling construction. Okay, that's my assumptions and my argument. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. And I should also extend my thanks to Professor Boskovici, who gave me detailed suggestions and discussions related to a paper related to this topic, this talk. And I also should thank Professor Park and Kim, as well as other organizers of this workshop. Okay, thank you. If you have questions, please, or comments, please tell me, or you can also contact me via my emails. Thanks.